Now guys, if you think that I want to make videos with this kind of topic, I don't. It's just, I think that more people should know that these are the kind of peoples that we are dealing with within this community and with the developer. So I was looking around on Twitter and I went onto Save H3A's Twitter page, and I was just scrolling through his page because he ended up shouting out one of my videos, and I found this image here. And it's a conversation on a pretty provocative thread. I mean, look at the title. It's Bush did MCC. MCC was an inside job. So yes, a fairly provocative title, alright. But it drew some 343 employees in on the Reddit Halo. Which is, you know what's weird? I've never seen 343 employees actually comment on the Halo Waypoint forums. Yet, here's one on Reddit of them actually getting into a war. So I've said it plenty of times that they don't want to support their own official forums, yet they'll go for Reddit because it's bigger. I think that everything should be internalized. You know, the real diehards will go onto Halo Waypoint over Reddit, but I digress. Anyway, so here is Stink Reynolds' post. So he was basically saying from a post, like a previous post by this guy, Grimbrother1, that he was calling people that didn't like MCC or that claimed that they needed more from Halo as entitled. And he basically said, where's the apology for MCC? Where's the apology for the premature launch of Halo 5? And again, why has no one within 343 accepted responsibility? What Grimbrother1 says, for me, really just, it tells so much as to how 343 treats their fanbase and to how they think about us. If an employee has enough balls to go on the internet and say this, you know, if I'm working in the private sector or somewhere like that, and I say something like that, like this is what even Stink Reynolds says. He says if he was working in a private sector job and called a client entitled, he'd be fired. And I know the same from my work, that if I started, you know, bashing a customer, that I'd immediately get fired. You know, I'm out the door because the customer, in fact, is always right. Now, you guys know they're not always right. If they are actually being entitled, then they're not always right. But I think asking for the things that were promised to us prior to launch for certain games, and the post-launch support that we never got for games like MCC, calling us entitled regarding that, I think is just, it's just a cop-out, and it just shows that 343 are trying to get people bandwagoning on the people that don't like the direction of this game, and I don't think that this is going to work. Anyway, let me get into his post. So breathe, my friend. Let me see if I can simplify this a bit more, in case the intent was not clear enough, in which case, I do apologize. You should have apologized for the offhand calling consumers entitled. He says, but I'm not sorry. Think of it broadly. I think most folks would agree that modern day consumers have reached a level of entitlement and expectation that often far surpasses rational standard. And I mean this in general, with a huge variety of types of products, services, etc. Hanging out on social media long enough will show us this. This does not mean that consumers shouldn't want products to be awesome, functional, timely, etc. But the pendulum has swung so far in the direction of I deserve everything exactly how I want it, when I want it. Regardless of resource, regardless of reality. That's not fair, that's unhealthy. So, when you put this in the context of MCC, when he says that the level of entitlement and expectation often surpasses rational standards, that's not on us, that's on you, 343. You tried to put 4 games into the same, onto the same universal interface, and it didn't work. There were massive problems at launch. We were promised a functional title, we were promised to relive the experiences that we had when we were younger, because whether or not you want to admit it or not, 343, Halo shaped a generation of gamers. It did. And for me, because it really, really shaped me, it was the game that I was just obsessed with when I was younger, and the first online multiplayer game that I truly could say, I love this game. I love everything about it. It hurts to hear that. It does hurt to hear that, because you're basically saying, we promised you something, we couldn't deliver, you got mad, so fuck you. That this is what I'm hearing from this. That you're saying, oh, we're entitled. Basically, and saying that this surpasses the rational standard. It's not our rational standard, it's your standard. You set a standard and you didn't deliver that standard. So people are asking you, why didn't you deliver that standard? People got days off work. People got weeks off work for MCC. And look what happened. It didn't work at launch. People had to go into custom game servers in order to get, games at all. People had to go into LFG groups in order to get games at all for the first few months of MCC. In fact, I played for the first month, then I had to put it down for 2 months because I wanted matchmaking. You know, I wanted to, when my friends weren't online, I wanted to go into matchmaking and play some games of Halo, and I couldn't do that for months. And this is where the community got angry, 343, because, you know, you said, oh, we're sorry about these problems, we're sorry, but there was never a full apology for this, you know, and then there was never, like, basically, the post-launch support that you guys promised was shoddy at best. And I don't care if you say it wasn't, it was. It was. The community unanimously agrees on this. Well, probably not unanimously, but the community at large agrees on this. The MCC is, like, right now, for the Black Friday sales, MCC is $15. That's a very low price for MCC, a game that should have been, you know, a title that people can return to for years. So I really don't agree with this. Then he's saying here, he quotes Stink Reynolds' comment here saying, the consumer doesn't owe you money. He goes, I mean, that's kind of how this works, right? Company makes things, sells for a certain price, customers decide if said thing is worth said price. If customer likes, customer buys more next time. If not, they don't. Maybe I'm not understanding correctly. So this is such a passive-aggressive comment, really, saying that company makes things, sells for a certain price, customer decides if said thing is worth said price. We determined that 4 Halo games within one, with all the campaigns, with Forge, with customs, you know, with all the campaign, everything. We determined that that was actually worth it, you know? We knew that this was worth it. We said, okay, all the Halo campaigns, all the Halo multiplayers, oh my god, we get to relive CE and Halo 2 again. You know, something that is unheard of at that time. We determined that that was worth it. And you didn't deliver. So saying that, you know, if you don't like it, don't buy it, doesn't make any sense because the pre-orders for that game were so high, yet the product didn't deliver. You know, you have made a mark, 343, on the gaming industry regarding pre-orders. You know, the MCC is a stark example. Do not pre-order games. You know, do not pre-order games that you don't have trust in the developers for, because it could end up being crappy, and you've already given them your money. So I really don't agree with this kind of mentality. I think it's just really passive-aggressive and just cowardly for a 343 employee to say this about the fans. Look, I get it, dude. People bag on 343 all the time, but don't start getting emotional and start saying things like this, because in fact you are going to make it worse. Can you guys see the difference between this commentary and the last one? I'm trying to think of this objectively. The other one was just me being angry because we asked for a classic playlist, you know, for months, and then we're given one with Spartan abilities, which is, you know, the farthest away from being classic. But I digress. I'm trying anyway to be a little bit more respectful in this commentary. So he says here, he quotes again, the fact that you went on to de-emphasize the necessity of split screen is proof of this. He goes, not sure I get the one-to-one correlation here. Also, your use of necessity is also subjective. Plenty of folks don't find it such, and both viewpoints are totally valid. If one company's product meets your necessities and another does not, then simply exercise your right to buy the one that meets your completely valid personal needs. But that also is very passive-aggressive. Instead of actually tackling the issue that is that Halo 5 doesn't have split screen and every other Halo title had split screen. It was one of those definitive things and one of those quintessential things about Halo that a lot of people discovered Halo. Okay, let's go back to 2007. A friend of mine came over to try out Halo 3 when I had bought it. He tried it out that weekend at mine. The next weekend, he had bought a 360 in Halo 3. Okay, do you think that I was passing the controller? Saying, hey, I'll play, then you play. That's not fun. You know, that's not fun. You know, it can be. It depends on who you're playing with. But we played split screen. In fact, we only played custom games on Guardian or something like that for like 2 or 3 hours. And he decided, after playing those custom games, I am buying this game. This is so good. He would not have had the same experience with Halo multiplayer if he wasn't playing on split screen. So saying that you don't see the correlation here is just, I think it's a lie. I think you definitely see the correlation. I think that you're just, you know, just sore that a lot of people have been bagging on your company for ages and on your conduct for ages, which, in my opinion, is very warranted. And this just goes to prove it, that you guys are just very arrogant about the direction that you're bringing Halo. And that's not what the fans want. And that's not fair of you to do so and just to disregard people like this. This guy could have put so much money towards your franchise in the past. You know, he could have been one of the main reasons, alongside many others like him, that your franchise is there, that you even have a job, and you treat him like this. Come on, dude. Come on, have some fucking sense. If this guy has anything to do with your PR, get him away from it, because he is a loose cannon. He's going to say things that will hurt your game. I don't like Halo 5. That doesn't mean I want Halo to suffer and die. It's the complete opposite. I want to give my opinions and my frank and honest opinions based on what a lot of this community are feeling in order to improve subsequent Halo titles. And what you're doing here does not improve Halo titles. And the reason that I'm bringing, this to light, and it's not to try and push more people away, it's in order for people to be aware that you cannot let game developers treat you like this. We spend money, it is hard earned for a lot of us, it is hard earned, we spend money and we deserve a good product. And saying that, you're so entitled to say that you deserve a good product, we are. Halo 5 does not have half as much content as the previous Halo games. We deserve a good product. There's been a standard that has been set with Halo. If you deviate from that standard, people are going to get angry. I'm sorry, but they are. I'm trying to look at this objectively, that I can see why, you guys had to cut corners, maybe Microsoft were on your ass. I see that. But someone needs to stand up in 343 and say, look, this franchise is really drastically dying. And we need to start listening to the people that are going to buy this game. We're making this game for the consumers. If I was making a game and I had Sprint in the game and 90% of the population or whoever is left over, basically the population that's left over does not represent the whole Halo community, in my opinion. It represents the people that like Halo 5. The entire Halo community are now playing other games because we haven't been listened to, and that, man, that hurts. It turns people away from the franchise, and I don't want that, you don't want that, 343. So let's work together here, okay? Let's work together and stop all this, you're being entitled, stop this name calling, all this bullshit, stop all the, pulling the wool over our eyes, stop misinforming us, and start actually listening to your fans. Because this is what we need you to do. Alright, for his last point here, he says, all being said, I appreciate where your passion is coming from and certainly hope that next time around you find whatever our future products are worth your time or money, etc. There will be folks who do and folks who don't, and that's okay. Whether or not I agree with your feedback, it's still appreciated. So at least he ended it on that, and that was a respectful note, but I think the main crux of his point was very disrespectful, passive-aggressive, and it just makes it seem like he doesn't know what he's talking about and that he's very out of touch with this community. So I would ask you guys, whenever you see this kind of conduct from 343 employees, to challenge them on it. Yes, respectfully. If it gets emotional, it gets emotional. So be it. Whether or not you agree with me or whether or not you disagree with me, that doesn't matter here. I want what's best for Halo just like you do. We may have different methods, but that road is still the same. So whether or not you enjoy my content, you hate my approach towards trying to help Halo, because that is what I'm doing. You can agree or disagree on that one, but I think I have helped people understand that Halo is not what it should be, and that it could be what it should be, and we need to press them for that. Because if you think you deserve something, then push for it. They're telling us that we don't deserve it. Whereas Bungie for years told us that we did deserve an amazing experience. And this point here is not intended to be a 343 versus Bungie argument. It's just that there was a standard that was set. You don't own you didn't make this franchise, 343. You inherited this franchise. So if you want to inherit something, you try and keep it as close to source as you can. If I inherited Call of Duty tomorrow as a game developer, I wouldn't go and yank out Sprint from that game after it's been so established, even though I'm someone that prefers games without Sprint. Do you get me? So what do you guys think? Let's not try and turn this into let's just bash 343 in the comments kind of video. Let's actually discuss this. Let's discuss this properly like gentlemen. And let's just say, look, this is a person that made a mistake. Hopefully he can come back from this. Everyone can come back from their mistakes, guys, but let's just hope that 343, after this video and after all the content that loads of YouTubers, loads of Halo guys have been making, that they will start making changes, especially for Halo 6, because, for a lot of us, if Halo 6 is a dreadful game, then we're done, and I think the franchise will be done then. And I don't want to see that, because this is still my favorite franchise, even if it's struggling, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I'm not trying to do this out of hate, or to try and, get you guys to stop playing the game. It's in order to keep the developers honest to what they say to their fans and to their own business practices. Alright guys, thank you very much. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.